Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Good evening. I will call the February 4th Select Board meeting to order. The only change to the agenda is that we have one additional announcement. We do have one board member online this evening, so we'll be taking all of our votes via roll call. I'll just confirm that Malcolm, you're on and you can hear me.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And so we'll accept the agenda and turn it to announcements.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you. Now, this evening, the Select Board meeting is being audio and video recorded. And for the next two announcements, I'd like to call up Christy Ferrantella, the Housing Director.
Thank you. I'm a little short. So I just wanted to announce that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, EOHLC, has approved the certification of the town's housing production plan amendment, giving the town an additional year of safe harbor through December 10th of 2027. And it was the addition of Tacoma Green that gave us that additional year. The second announcement is that the Affordable Housing Trust is seeking proposals for its year-round deed restriction pilot program. And this is designed to provide housing stability, security, and affordability for those living and working on Nantucket. This program offers a financial incentive to Nantucket property owners or potential owners to place a permanent deed restriction on their homes to limit sale or rental to year-round Nantucket residents. We have an updated deadline to submit questions, which is February 9th at 2 p.m. and an updated deadline to submit applications, which is February 18th, 2026, with awards announced on April 1st. And the link to all that information is on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. The Communications Office is creating a branding and visual style guide to ensure a consistent visual identity for town communications. All residents are invited to complete a survey of visual identity and branding, including the values, characteristics, and designs and design qualities that the public associate with Nantucket. Your feedback will help shape the style guide. There's a link to the survey on the town's website, also on the agenda. And we have one additional announcement, as the chair mentioned. The Town of Nantucket's February Town Manager Monthly Newsletter is out. Click to read the updates on winter storm response, town meeting, energy saving programs, housing initiatives, and other key town news, and subscribe to receive it in your inbox. That also can be located on the agenda and on the town's website. And that is it, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Next up, do we have any select board opening announcements or comments? Okay.
You've got one, I have one.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if people saw it in the Inquirer Mirror last week. 100 years ago, we had Superintendent of Highways Matthew Jekyll spoke at the Rotary Club on a recent controversial topic, the new plan brought forward by the selectmen regarding sidewalks. Mr. Jekyll described the two previous plans, both of which called for the abutter to share a proportionate cost of the sidewalk with his choice of either concrete, brick, or asphalt. Under the plans, the money appropriated by the town for sidewalk construction had always been depleted very rapidly. And with this in mind, and also to stabilize the program, the new plan had been worked out. Under the new plan, asphalt will be used on sidewalks at no cost, and concrete or brick sidewalks will be laid only if the abutter wishes to pay the difference in cost. Mr. Jekyll described some of the bad conditions existing in the town and that were created because there are no sidewalks. Two major examples were Atlantic Ave, where children attending Cyrus Pierce School have but a dirt sidewalk, and Francis and Washington Street by the Boys Club, where there is no sidewalk. He stated that a plan covering a period of years had been drawn up and the laying of new sidewalks will be done on a regular schedule. I thought it was interesting. We're still dealing with some of the same things. People don't want betterments, but we were using, these are in fact betterments way back then. And when I looked at this about 15 or 20 years ago, the roads that were in front of the same exact houses in front of cobblestones were worth about $500,000 to $1 million worth more than a house like a street over that had a tar road in front of it. So there's a value to the homeowners, there's a value to the community of good sidewalks and cobblestones, et cetera, that I think can be captured in some manner. So I just thought that was interesting that we're still sort of dealing with, where do we get the money and how do we do it? And I think this is, to me, this tells me there are ways to do it, that we can go and try. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Next up, I do have one response to a public comment from last week. Amy Eldridge inquired about town-owned property and future planning for municipal facilities. The town's response: the town engages in long-term planning for municipal facilities, primarily within the context of existing town-owned properties. This planning considers anticipated needs over the next 30 to 40 years, while recognizing that any future development or expansion of large-scale projects may be subject to mitigation requirements, permitting processes, and other environmental and regulatory considerations. In addition, the town is internally reviewing certain potential real estate acquisitions where existing town-owned land may be insufficient to meet identified municipal facility needs. These reviews are ongoing and do not represent final determinations. So there's a lot more information along with that on different sites and projects, but this is posted on our town website. Next up, we have public comment for items that are not otherwise on the agenda for discussion this evening. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and I see Amy Eldridge at the mic.
I first wanted to say, sorry, Amy Eldridge, thank you to the DPW for the continuous, like, around the clock work that they've been doing to clean up downtown. And this is my next comment is not to disparage what the DPW has done, but just things I've seen driving around, trying to find parking in town and driving the surrounding streets. I was driving down Union Street yesterday and none of the sidewalks are clear. People are having to walk in the middle of the one-way street because there's piles of snow where cars are parked. Sidewalks aren't cleaned. What is the responsibility of property owners in the core district of town to take care of what is in front of their homes? It kind of goes back to a little bit what Matt was talking about, the sidewalks and responsibility of the homeowner versus what is on the town's radar for taking care of. But I know in the winter, there's not many property owners that are here, but a lot of those houses have caretakers, and it's disturbing what Fair Street sidewalks, Union Street, and you guys can't get to it all. And I greatly appreciate the hard work that they've put in, but some of this needs to fall back on the property owners. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Meredith Moldenhauer online.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Meredith.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Meredith Moldenhauer on behalf of the Sconset Beach Preservation Fund. I am here just to provide a public comment, as everyone may be aware of the damage to the geotubes protecting the Sconset Bluff. As people might know, we reported the incident to the Nantucket Police Department. While a full investigation is still underway, the damage observed is clear cut that are not consistent with the natural forces or storm activity. This incident should be understood first as a criminal act against homeowners and the town, whose property is protected by the project. The road, as well as access to the lighthouse, are now significantly at increased risk. The level of damage continues to unfold as we continue to get daily reports from our crew that were out on the site today. Until the geotubes can be repaired and addressed, the damage and material, it will continue to increase and increase the potential risk of a breach at Baxter Road, potentially placing millions of dollars of damage to both public infrastructure and taxpayer resources that we are concerned about. This intentional damage to the coastal project and infrastructure is obviously very concerning to us, but we also hope very concerning to everybody, including the select board members and members of the public. It threatens public safety, private properties, as well as the stability of the bluff itself, and affects the entire town of Nantucket, as somebody as attacked, something that protects and preserves many different types of areas around the island. We appreciate and acknowledge those who have condemned this criminal act of sabotage, and we look forward to working and collaborating with the town and ask for their continued efforts to understand the current situation on the ground and come up with strategic options moving forward. For those who took on this, unfortunate action of slashing the project, we hope that they know that it did not deter us. And for all those who love walking up and down Baxter Road to the lighthouse, running, bicycling, we want you to know that you will stand with us as we condemn these efforts and look forward to finding a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move, there's no new business. We will move on to approval of minutes, payroll and treasury warrants.
Can I have a motion for that? Because Dawn is
Oh,
recusing.
Well, we can do, I was just going to do pending
Oh,
contracts
all right,
separately.
then I'll
Sorry,
give
I
you a
was just
motion.
do a motion for the first.
All right, so moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb.
I made the motion and Matt
I see.
seconded, I think is how we
Yes.
We
muttered that out.
flubbed through it.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously, and I'm going to recuse for pending contracts.
All right, so I'll open pending contracts.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All right, so we'll take a vote. Malcolm?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Matt votes aye. Unanimous, thank you. Back to you, Don.
Okay. Next up, we have consent items. Brooke, did you want to read those off?
Sure. So we have a number of gifts to accept this evening, and the recommendation is to accept the following gifts and donations to town agencies. To the Natural Resources Department, a gift of $8,942 from the Ornstein family to support oyster restoration equipment for the shellfish hatchery. To our island home, a donation of $2,000 from the National Dementia Workforce Study our island home administrator participated in for the residents of our island home. To the fire department, a donation of $500 from William C. Miller IV and Catherine Miller for general support and to enhance the readiness of emergency response. And to the Health and Human Services Department, a donation of $150 from the Clara Foundation for the Salt Marsh Senior Center. So I would move that these gifts be accepted for their designated purposes with thanks to the donors.
Is
Second.
there a second? Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb,
Yes.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Brooke Moore.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously. Next up, we have citizen departmental committee requests and reports. We have the Affordable Housing Trust quarterly update. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dylan Metchenpel, the town's deputy housing director. I'm just going to wait till Erica pulls up the slide deck. I'll start by saying thank you for letting me reschedule from last week. As I think the board and many members of the public have heard us say a lot, in the housing department, we wear two hats. We do both municipal employee housing, and we also coordinate the Affordable Housing Trust for the development and preservation of affordable housing for the community. And so while there's often overlap, Christy Ferrantello, who presented, the housing director who presented the annual update for the housing department, leads the municipal employee housing, and I take the lead on the Affordable Housing Trust. And so tonight I'll be presenting an update on the last quarter, so October to December 2025. Next slide, please, Erica. This is just a quick overview of what I'll be going over. First, I'll start with a subsidized housing inventory update, talk about some of the advocacy work we're doing, community collaboration, active projects and investments, the year-round deed restriction pilot program, lease to locals, the 2026 housing production plan, and upcoming initiatives. Next slide, please. So as you heard Christy say at the start, tonight, we are now at 8% on the subsidized housing inventory list or SHI list. In the fourth quarter, we added 92 units. 28 of those were rental units from Richmond Meadows 1. They're already occupied, and the remaining 64 are rental units at Tacoma Green, which, as we all know, construction is underway. And we heard actually this month, might have been the end of January, but we heard recently that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities approved our request for certification of Safe Harbor through December 10th, 2027. So we're making a lot of progress there. And we worked with the communications office to create this graphic showing the exponential growth and ultimate goals for the SHI list. Next slide, please, Erica. So we continue to be active in local and state advocacy, especially around seasonal communities and the real estate transfer fee. In October, we had a group testify in front of the Joint Committee on Housing. They were both remote and in person at the State House on the Seasonal Communities 2.0 bill. That would empower municipalities with the seasonal communities designation with the real estate transfer fee. That was reported out favorably with changes out of the committee. And that's building on some of our past advocacy efforts. So in September and in July, we led similar advocacy efforts around the statewide bill, which would give all municipalities the authority to implement a real estate transfer fee, and our home rule petition specifically designed for Nantucket. The home rule petition has not been reported out yet. We haven't heard anything, but the statewide bill was reported out favorably. So the next steps vary depending on the specific bill, but we're cautiously optimistic about that. And I meet monthly with the Local Option for Housing Affordability, or LOHA group, which is a statewide coalition of folks who are working towards getting the real estate transfer fee implemented to boost housing production. Next slide, please, Erica. So these are just some photos of folks testifying. You can see Christie's in the bottom left testifying at the State House. We have Rachel Freeman at the Land Bank testifying, Penny Dye, Forrest Bell, Abby, a lot of folks, Chief Casper, and Senator Sear, of course, a lot of folks came out in support of this. It was a great effort. Next slide. So we do a lot of course, community collaboration. So in October, I traveled to Martha's Vineyard with folks working in the housing space, including representatives from the Nantucket Land Trust and the Nantucket Land Bank. We toured some of their housing projects and met with representatives from the Island Housing Trust on the Vineyard and the Martha's Vineyard Commission to really discuss how they do things and opportunities for the islands to learn from each other in the housing space. I meet also monthly with the Joint Affordable Housing Group, which is really Martha's Vineyard's coalition of the 6 towns who are working on housing, and they let me sit in and listen to the things that are going on there and stay engaged there. And we're beginning to plan a spring advocacy day with Senator Sear and Representative Moakley, like we did last year, where we'll bring students up from the islands and different local officials and representatives to talk about our experiences and work being done on the island and how we can better collaborate with them at the state level. And then we just wanted to share that Housing Nantucket updated the covenant program at the 2026 number. So the maximum sales price has gone up to $854,171, up from in the low $700,000 range. And you have to have income just below $250,000 with less than about $430,000 in unrestricted access. And there is a transaction fee. Next slide, please. So these are our main active projects and investments. Tacoma Green at 6 Fairgrounds Road and 4-Way Drive is under construction. This is 64 rental units. As I said at the start, all are on the SHI list already. 55 of the 64 units are restricted between 30 to 120% area median income. So we're really hitting at the highest levels of need to sort of closer to the missing middle range. And then there are 9 market rate units. This project's being managed by Halkeen. So when the time comes for the lease ups to begin, they'll be going through that process, and the units will be awarded through fair housing lottery. We are encouraging folks who are interested in this to sign up both for the housing department's newsletter, which you can find on our website, and to sign up for updates on the Tacoma Green Project Town website, and also to go to www.tacoma, which is spelled TICCOMA, green.com to sign up to stay up to date for Halkeen's push on this project. And then new downtown, or 18 through 26 Sparks Avenue. This is 32 rental units. 8 of those are going to be restricted to 80% area median income or below, and there will be 24 market rate units. And all of these units will eventually be added to the Shy List. And if you drive by on Sparks Ave by the Stop and Shop, you'll see that they've started building. Next slide, please. So the project the Habitat for Humanity project on Waite Drive is on schedule and on budget. About 73% of the funds have been spent to date, and they do have families beginning to move in. And we are actively working on the project, the bundled request for proposals at Orange Street, Vesper Lane, and Bartlett Avenue. The RFP was awarded to Affirmative Investments, and we're continuing to coordinate with them. And that will ultimately be 28 workforce housing rental units on Orange Street, 17 rental units on Vesper Lane, which are going to be age restricted, and 12 workforce housing rental units on Bartlett Road. And just for workforce housing in our local zoning means that at least 25% of the units have to be restricted to 80% median income, and then 70% of those 25%, 70% of the affordable units will have local preference. Next slide, please, Erica. So I want to give it just a quick update on the year-round deed restriction pilot program. In the first round, we received 6 total applications. 3 were eligible and moved on to the next round. The evaluation committee met on January 13th and evaluated the proposals and have been in contact. That that's a public meeting, so the meeting minutes will be available. And we have re-released, as Christy said, the request for proposals for a second round back in December. And the submission deadline is the beginning of March, and the contract award deadline is going to be April 1st. So we're hoping to get even more applicants there. Next slide, please.
And why would people not eligible? Like I'm not asking to name names, but what kind of things
Sure.
do people have to watch out for?
Sometimes it's because it's an RFP evaluation process. Sometimes it's a determination that it's not the right investment for the town for any number, a variety of reasons. So they might have, met the eligibility to apply, but then the evaluation committee determines from there. So lease to locals, it's now entering the 3rd year. It's under the stewardship of the Affordable Housing Trust. We awarded the RFP to Placemate back in the fall, and the board approved $550,000 in December of continued funding. Placemate is the administrator of the program, so they're responsible for reviewing eligibility, managing the website, doing check-ins with the tenant and owners to make sure that everything is copacetic and going as it should be, and to facilitate the program at large. So we work very closely with Placemate, and we want to encourage anybody who's interested in Placemate, both as a potential tenant and as a homeowner who wants to convert underutilized or short-term rented spaces to long-term rentals, to create a profile on Placemate's Lease to Locals Nantucket website, which is placemate.com/Nantucket. And yesterday, the Affordable Housing Trust, they voted in favor of the updated program guidelines. So we're moving forward there. Next slide, please. So we're working on the 2026 housing production plan. Barrett Planning was awarded the contract earlier or back in 2025. This is something that we do every 5 years, and it guides the housing production, as the name implies, for 5 years. It guides our work, and it's important for maintaining our safe harbor and the Shy List. Judy Barrett and Tony Young from Barrett Planning were on island to do the first round of stakeholder interviews in mid-December, and they completed a second round of stakeholder interviews in January. So they've done 23 total, and they're continuing to do outreach to the community to interview more folks. They're planning to community events in February, so this month, and March and April, so be on the lookout for that. And they will be releasing a survey, and we have a website that's being launched so that people can access these materials. Next slide, please. So some things that we're excited about for the future. Yesterday at the Affordable Housing Trust, the trust voted to approve the program guidelines for a rental preservation program, which will provide financial subsidies to people who are already renting year-round and at affordable rates to Nantucket locals and residents. So we're really close to getting this up off the ground and running, and we're working on getting the RFP released for an administrator of that program. We applied for a seasonal communities grant. So these were grants that the state made available specifically for communities with the seasonal communities designation. So we applied to that for a number of projects, and we're fingers crossed for good news there. And looking forward to town meeting. There's two articles that I want to point out: the good landlord tax exemption, which will provide a property tax exemption to folks who are renting year-round at affordable rates, as we've talked about before, and then the amendment to the trust's declaration of trust to allow for to increase our income restrictions to 250% area median income to be in line with seasonal communities. And it would also, this article would also should give us the power to create a year-round housing trust that can work on year-round housing without also having an affordability restriction. And next slide, please, Erica. Happy to take any questions.
I'll just say, as the board's rep for Affordable Housing Trust, the meetings are action-packed. We have pretty big agendas and a lot of stuff going on, and I think some of these new programs are really going to respond to inquiries we've had from the community. I think particularly the folks who have been, as we say, doing the right thing in terms of renting affordably to year-rounders for a long time, and to help them bear the increase in cost of insurance and not have to pass that on to their longtime tenants. I think this program is going to be really cool, and hopefully it'll be a success. We'll bring it out as a pilot and then re-up it as funds are available.
For the pilot program for the year-round deed restriction, did you tend there were 6 applications, right? How many of them were for a new purchase where someone wanted to restrict it and get a subsidy, compared to people who wanted to stay in their homes and get the subsidy and restrict it for the future?
So I was not on the evaluation committee, so
Oh, okay. Sorry, Chris.
So of the original 6 applicants, 2 of them were for new properties. Unfortunately, as we were reviewing this, the minimum criteria that we had in the released request for proposals, so that you needed to have the signed deed at that point. So that's why we re-released it with the round 2, which allows for either an offer, a purchase and sale, or the deed. So we're learning through this process that we're the first community to launch this in Massachusetts. So the RFP process definitely is dragging it on, but we are hopeful that those people will resubmit with the second round.
Thank you. Anything else?
I'll just add that, Christy and is working really closely with at the state level too, to help this spread out across the state based on our experience here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the town manager's report. That's the monthly departmental report for the police department.
We have Chief Casper here this evening.
Good evening. I'm Jody Casper, the police chief, here to update you once again after last year's update, slightly modified this year with some new information for you. So next slide, please. Thank you. So our department is divided into 4 different divisions: operations, detective, administrative, and harbor master. Many people don't know that the harbor master division is part of the police department, but they are. I'm very lucky to get to work with all the harbor master staff as part of our department. As we go through the presentation, I'll just talk about the activity, accomplishments, goals of each of these divisions, and then the challenges that we're facing as we get to the end. Next slide. The operations division. Operations is what most people think of when they think of the police department. That's people in uniform on the street that you see. So you see our uniformed police officers and cruisers, and then you also see our CSOs in the summer when we have 40 seasonals join us. So those are really the front-facing portion of the police department that most people think of as the police department. Next slide. This is a little bit about our activity. I put FY26 on there so far. You wouldn't want to look at those numbers and think, well, we're about halfway through, they seem higher, lower, just because we're a seasonal community. So our fiscal year, of course, starts July 1, which is really the heart of the summer. So we get a little bit ahead on the numbers coming into the winter time. But those are pretty much on par with where we would expect them to see. Our officers have been very busy out there stopping cars, as you can see. And parking tickets, I just put that on there for you so you could see that we've issued 17,800 parking tickets in this fiscal year so far, and we're right around the same place last year. So they're very busy out there enforcing parking regulations, which we very much appreciate. Next slide, please. Our communications and dispatch center has in there, just I wanted you to have a sense of the number of calls that are coming in, the 911 calls and the fire and ambulance calls that come in. That is a very busy center here in our building. Next slide, please. The operations division, some of the accomplishments we've had. Thank you very much for your support for adding 2 new police officer positions, which we have added in this current fiscal year budget. Also, our staffing levels in some of those key areas that we talked about with specialty positions on the bottom. Last year, when I came to you and talked about adding those 2 new police officers, I told you I really wanted to get an additional school resource officer in the schools. And because you approved that, we got the funding, we got the people, and we have been able to add a second school resource officer, which I think has been a huge help to the schools and just a great asset for the students, school administrators. And then other critical specialty positions that people may not think of as much are field training officers. After you graduate from the police academy, you go through a 4-month field training program, and that's riding along with a training officer. That person has to have specialty training. And then they also are obligated to every single day rate the person and provide feedback. And they're really mentors for our new officers coming in. They're a very important part of developing officers, getting them to go from the academy to the street. So we have filled all those positions. And then also we've just in that middle check there, we have reduced our vacancies. Really some excellent work in recruiting and hiring. We have Lieutenant McVicker who oversees that and works with other members of the department who do interviews and make recommendations. So we went from an average of 4 vacancies a month for police officers last fiscal year to FY25. We got that number down to 1.25. So we're doing much better in retaining people on the department, which is great. Next slide. Our operations division continued some of the accomplishments. Targeted traffic enforcement. I talked about that last year. That's a newer program that we introduced. It's data driven. So we use speed data from those things that you pass by that you may see out there from the Plus department from Mike Burns. So we know where the problem streets are, and we strategically put cruisers around in those areas. I had looked, and we've done over 7,000 of those targeted traffic enforcements in those higher problem areas where we know they're speeding, which that was in last year. We did over 7,000. So great work by the officers being visible and being in these more problem areas. We also completed our active attack response training. This is a 2-day, this is a heavy lift to get this done by the people that put it together and teach it, to get the equipment here and to get the building. This is a 2-day training that usually takes place in one of our public schools. We do it with dispatchers, with firefighters, and with our officers, and they're going through the building, playing out real scenarios to prepare them for these sorts of events. And finally, you probably all noticed some of the enforcement out there and chatter we had, and I came and spoke to you about e-bike enforcement and really trying to deal with what I consider to be a very significant problem on the island that was really contributing to a lot of injuries and accidents. And our officers did a great job at fixed posts. I came to you and told you what we were going to do, and that is what we did. And we definitely saw a decrease in youths, particularly on these. They're not really e-bikes because they don't really qualify. They're really motorcycles and mopeds and other things. And we've seen that decrease. You'll see us out there again in the springtime doing that same kind of targeted enforcement as the weather warms up. Next slide. Some of our goals in the operations division, we want to make sure we maintain adequate staffing and keep a high number of officers. We want to make sure that we are able to continue to fill those specialty positions, continue to focus on traffic safety, and then be ready for any sort of active attack situation. Those are the primary goals of the operations division. Next slide. The detective division. Next slide. These are our detectives in plain clothes that you may not notice quite as much, but they do a lot of work in our community. these are our accomplishments in the detective division. We really have focused a lot on narcotics investigations and arrests. And indeed, that has resulted in more arrests for narcotics. I'm sure you've seen it in the paper and you've seen it online where you've seen people get arrested, not just for simple possession, but for trafficking. Trafficking means you have a lot. So these are people that are dealing in our community, and they've just done a great job really embracing this mission of the department and getting people off the street and removing drugs off the street. Also, thanks to Denise Allen. She has a number of hats she wears with us, but one of them is writing grants for us. And she wrote a grant so that we could purchase that TrueNarc device that you can see in the lower picture there, which is a way for our detectives or other members of our department to test substances on the street. It's very quick, it's very accurate. It doesn't require opening up a package and pouring out powders, which actually some of the old testing methods involved, which is not very safe for our responders and our officers. So we're thankful for this equipment, and we're just have the training scheduled and hope to have that active and out and about very soon. Next slide. We also have really committed to training along the lines of narcotics enforcement. Our detectives have gone to some pretty impressive trainings. The Mass State Police Top Gun Narcotics Investigation course is a big one. It's only offered once a year, and it's very limited on the cohort that goes in. One of our detectives was selected and completed that earlier in 2025. And then also street level narcotics. Also, these are some big courses that our detectives are going to. Basic narcotics school. We're really investing in developing them to have the skills they need to be able to target this problem. And then also, along with some of our goals of targeting fraud, we have joined the Southeastern Mass Financial Crimes and Fraud Task Force, which is a regional task force. We can kind of share information and strategies for dealing with this. Next slide, please. So our goals, you'll see that our accomplishments are aligned with our goals. So obviously there's some similarities as we go from slide to slide, which that's good for us because we are accomplishing things that are in line with our goals. Certainly we will continue with narcotics enforcement. And we will also work on fraud, enhancing our own skills and investigating here on the island when we have these. We've seen a big increase. I put that number on the bottom. You can see in FY24, we had 54 fraud reports that we took. And in FY25, we have 93. So a significant increase in that area. And when we're talking about fraud, we're usually talking about like you get an email, you're instructed to go buy gift cards or go to a Bitcoin machine or put money here or something like that. The interesting thing about a lot of these cases is that they really involve quite a bit of money usually. Sometimes tens, 20, 30, 40, even $100,000s that end up moving through these means and being lost pretty quickly. In some cases, we're able to recover the money, but a lot of times we can't. So we really want to work on this and partner with other agencies to see what's successful and what we can do to best address this growing problem on the island and nationwide. This is certainly nothing local.
Is that on the phone most of the time, or is it different ways?
Emails. People get emails.
Yeah.
Yep. They might click on something or get an email that says, it looks like it's from a friend or someone they know. And they're like, hey, I'm in trouble. Can you send me a gift card here?
So that kind of stuff.
All
yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yep.
Malcolm has a question too.
Yep.
Jody, it seems to me the key to this is education of the island, because by the time you get it, it's probably lost money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a strong point. And I think there's partnerships that could be built with different communities on us getting out there and people building up the knowledge to be able to identify these things if they receive anything or get a questionable phone call. So that's good input and certainly something we've discussed. Something for the future.
I certainly, we need a island-wide educational program for this.
Yep. Good mission for the future. Now the administrative division, there's a lot under the umbrella of administration. One is licenses and permits. I put some numbers up there. You can see kind of where we are with that. I just laid eyes on the new shellfish buttons for the next season. So they're in the building, not officially for sale yet, but they are here. So you can see they're very busy managing a lot of these, and most of these transactions occur here at the window when you come in on your left, and you see that, you see folks sitting in there and they are processing all of these as well as, a number of other services that they're providing. Next slide. Some of the accomplishments, the administrative division, we added, I mentioned Denise Allen, who wrote the grant for the TrueNarc device, but also she is our accreditation extraordinaire up there and has really embraced it to an incredible level. We're very thankful for her work and energy and curiosity about the process. You can see in our little thermometer there where we are on the road to accreditation is certification. So our goal would be to become certified first and then reach accreditation after that. And it is a very slow and steady process. It takes a lot of time and energy to do this, but we are getting there and I'm really pleased with where we are. I put some numbers on the bottom. You can see there that we have reviewed, updated, and circulated 33 policies. We have, do I have the number up there? We have about 128. Yep. So we have a lot of policies that guide our work on all sorts of different topics. So we have a long way to go, but we're dealing with what I would say are the most critical at the beginning. Things like use of force and pursuits and written directives and rules and things that are very high focus and where you can get into trouble kind of. So we want to make sure that those are all exactly what they need to be. So those are moving along. And we also went through and did 33 job descriptions that were all updated as well. And that's in line with us looking at succession planning, making sure that our job descriptions match what the jobs are that people are doing and what their roles and responsibilities are. And just planning ahead for when there's future openings, making sure that those things are lined up. Next slide, please. Accomplishments, we completed the public safety computer replacement project. I had mentioned that to you last year in my presentation. We had about 70 computers that were replaced. We also, as I mentioned with the drug training, lots of professional development for staff off island where we've increased that quite a bit, where people are doing lots of different classes and certifications and things that are really making our department better. We did our AED replacement. That is the device that we use for CPR. And those need to be replaced on a fairly consistent basis every couple of years. So we have about 43 of them, and we replaced just a little over half of them that we now have in circulation. And finally, a very big one, and a shout out to Lieutenant Coakley, who worked many months on updating the comprehensive emergency management plan. This is a really giant document and also a heavy lift to get this updated, accurate, and it's part of emergency management, which has transitioned over to the fire department. So this finished and he just handed it off to the fire department actually in January. So we're very excited to have this document completed. Next. Special event licensing transitioned over to culture and tourism. I mentioned emergency management. We are still overseeing a lot of capital projects. This is Deputy Gibson, who is really managing these projects and dealing with the procurement and contract management and working with all the people that are involved in these projects. The Shadbush Storage Facility, which is fully operational now. And Sheila is here. She'll chat a little bit about the work of the harbor master, but certainly they are well into that building and it is very much the central point of their storage now. Also the harbor master building, which we are trying to replace and continue to work on that project. And then the seasonal barracks on Low Beach Road.
I think Malcolm has a question.
Yep.
Malcolm?
Yes, again, I've just read a great book going back about the COVID crisis. And there were all kinds of emergency management plans before that, but no one actually read them or did anything with it. I mean, it's great to have a good plan, but are you ready to actually implement it or be a little imaginative?
Well, so I think one of the benefits of accreditation and moving toward accreditation is that it requires consistent review of all of our policies, some on a 1-year basis, some on 2 years, some on 3 years, really. But our most critical policies and directives and plans get looked at on an annual basis. That's one of the many benefits of accreditation. So we have a digital system that stores all these things, sends them out on a set schedule. People have to take a test after many of them to show that they've read it and have knowledge of it. And we're very accountable for those. So it's a transition over from kind of paper policies that were maybe in like the early 2000s and 90s. Power DMS was in place prior to me getting here. That's the system, and all of our policies are in there. So yes, the answer is we absolutely will be accountable to them and access them, and they are a part of our kind of everyday operation in the department as far as reviewing them and making sure that we're kind of up to snuff on them.
Well, I think you should all read, if you haven't, this book called In COVID's Wake, How Our Policies Failed Us. It talks a lot about emergency plans that were never followed through and got stifled by politics and experts. It was a fascinating book, and I think people in emergency management should read that.
All right. Well, thank you for the recommendation.
Thank you.
Yep. Next slide, please. Thought that was a trick because I'm like, I think that's the same slide. Some of our goals in the administrative division I've already talked about. We're pursuing certification accreditation. We are, as I just mentioned to Malcolm, modernizing our policies, making sure that they're all meeting the standards they need to meet and reflect Mass General Law and all the things that they need to be. I've talked about succession planning and what we're doing, working toward that. And we are also, I haven't talked too much about this, but we're in the midst of evaluating our operations in the communications center, which is our dispatch center. That's an area where we wanted to look a lot at the training, the onboarding, the operations, the technology, and kind of see how we're doing. So we recently had an outside consultant come in, meet with a whole bunch of different people in the building. They're going to produce a report that we're very much looking forward to getting to see how we're doing in there and if there's any room for improvement. Next slide, please. Other goals, ensuring our buildings are taken care of and that we're on top of everything. We're not letting any maintenance issues go, and remaining vigilant and oversight of all of our major capital projects. It feels like we have big ones, the seasonal dorm, multi-year ongoing, the Harbor Master building, Shadbush, Town Pier, those are all big capital projects that there's been multi-years of oversight on. So that continues as one of our goals. Next slide. Harbor Master Division. That sounds like not for me. Sheila?
Hi, I'm Sheila Lucy. I'm the Nantucket Harbor Master. Just going to show you that's our activity over the last few years. The beach counts are pretty much the same, stay the same. We had it pretty much the same as last year. Same with our patrol hours and our calls for assistance. Libby asked me to explain to you how we do the beach head counts. So we calculate them by taking a 20 by 20 square piece of the beach, see how many people are in there, and then we grid the beach off. And so the guarded beaches, the guards that are there do that. And the unguarded beaches, we have the ATVs when they're cruising by. We also look at the number of cars, we look at the number of vehicles and stuff like that. That's how we come up with that number. We do it every single day at 2 o'clock because we figure that's probably the busiest time at the beach. And like on big days like 4th of July and times like that, we do it multiple times a day so that we can make sure that the first responders, police, and fire know where we're having the biggest crowds, so they can make sure that their stuff is staged there in case we need them. Next slide, please. Okay, for our accomplishments this year, we acquired the Harbor Guard, which is a multi-mission platform that has superior marine firefighting capabilities to enhance our water-based emergency response. It pumps about 3,500 gallons per minute. So that's huge, and that's a huge improvement for us, especially with most of our waterfront infrastructure being wooden. This will be a great thing for us to have. We trained and certified 10 Nantucket police personnel as boat crew so that they can get underway with us as a force multiplier. And we have Nantucket Fire Department scheduled from March 9th through the 12th. And we will knock them out and get them crew qualified. And then we will also move them into getting operator certified. The lifeguard program was awarded the United States Life Saving Association recertification for our program. We've been certified through them since 2016. It's a rigorous program that we have to do that's nationally recognized. And we're the only small town, single town, seasonal program in the Northeast that has the certification. So we're pretty proud of that. We just got that done. It's good for 3 years. Okay, more accomplishments. We got all of our harbor master gear and supplies. We used to be spread out all over the island in like our lifeguard housing, but we got to move them into the new Shadbush building. That is amazing. So we would like to say thank you for that. That has been a huge game changer for us. We get to work inside on projects on our boats, building dinghy docks, building lifeguard stands, all the things that we used to have to do outside. And so this is huge. So again, thank you for that. We also supported the launch of the town's new lifeguard dorm for its first season of occupancy. Also, love to say thank you again for that. It's amazing. And the lifeguards absolutely love it. And it again is a game changer because they're all in one place. We can keep track of them. And it's perfect. And we really, really, really appreciate it. Next slide. Okay, so for our goals, we want to ensure preparedness for marine firefighting and water-based emergency response operations. Again, the marine firefighting is going to be the biggest difference with the new platform. But it also, we're going to try to just keep enhancing our water emergency response. We want to expand maritime response capabilities across the public safety departments, again, incorporating the police and the fire so that they can be force multipliers for us and jump on our boats. We want to enhance safety and rescue capabilities on the beaches by incorporating innovative tools and strategies to strengthen the lifeguard response and public protection. One good thing that we got was a drone that's able to drop a life ring or a tube or a life jacket to somebody that's in distress. So that's kept in the supervisor's truck, and that's huge. We're going to try to improve our public communication of beach conditions to enhance safety and awareness. We're not just going to do it for the beaches. We're also going to do it for the waterways. We're going to put up QR codes on the ferries and in all the different places on the beach access posts. They get updated every day. They'll tell you what the conditions are, what to look out for. We'll put them at the boat ramp. We'll put them at just anywhere we think people are going to be, to make sure they understand what the colors of flags are for the day, where we're asking them to stay away from, where we've had shark sightings. And on the water, we can talk about potential hazards to navigation and different things like that. So we're in the middle of making that. We should be ready to go for the summer. And then the last thing is we are going to provide boating safety classes to the public because of the Hansen-Malone Act that got put into play through the state. Requires that anybody that was born before 1989, they're required to have a license by April 2026. And anybody born after 1989 has to have the license by April 2028. So I'm working closely with Dave Wright, and we're scheduling as many classes as we possibly can on the weekends, on nights, to try to knock as many people out as we can. We'll be doing it free. So it's free for people to take. If they want to take it online, they can pay $60 if they want. But again, we're trying to do as many as we can for free. So we have several scheduled for February, March, April, and we'll probably go up till Memorial Day, and then we kind of get a little bit crazy. So we'll probably slow down, but again, we're gonna try to do as many as we can.
Where can people find that schedule?
We have to announce it 45 days ahead of time. So right now, what I've got scheduled for February in the beginning of March are private classes, mostly for the schools and for the kids. But we are starting to do like the boat yards, that stuff, but we are planning on doing public mid-March through April. And we will advertise it and give you a link, and then you go on the link and you sign up with the state and go from there. But when Dave and I do it together, we can do a ton of people. And we're gonna try to do it in this room. Okay, I'm out. All right.
Thanks, Sheila.
Thanks, Sheila. All right, and just wrapping up the last slide is just some of the challenges that we're facing. Certainly employee retention and the experience gap that we have. We went through some years where we had people leaving the department, and so therefore a large majority of our patrol staff has only a few years of service with the town and in policing. So we really want to get more experience built into the patrol force, so that not only so that services are the best that they can be, but also so that we have people for future promotions to move up through the ranks. So that's definitely a focus of ours, is retention and recognizing that experience gap. And then the other most significant challenge is really the anticipated leadership transition. When I came into the department a few years ago, the lieutenants and deputy chief were all really right within range, we would say, of retirement eligibility. Whenever people go, that's up to them on when they choose to go, but they're all very close to when they could, when they might, when they will, who knows. But that is significant to have all that, the leadership team of 5, to have 4 of them, not me, leaving sometime, very soon, probably, or within the next short order. So that just makes it difficult to plan for, the stability and continued operations in the same way of the department. So I'm certainly focused on that and doing everything we can to try to get ready for that. So one challenge I don't have is I work with incredible people, and I can't say enough about the people in this building. The people who work in every element of this department are just a total pleasure to work with. So it's really been just an honor to work with them, and I look forward to the continued service. So thank you. Are there any questions or anything?
Public question?
Yes. Hi. So I'm John Carl. If you don't know him, I'm with the Nantucket Current. I just wanted to ask. I was looking at the numbers you had for parking tickets, and you've already given out more parking tickets this fiscal year than last fiscal year, and we still got close to half the year left. Does that mean we're on track to like double the number of parking tickets, or does it just mean you give out way fewer parking tickets in the second half of the year?
Through you, Madam Chair. We're a seasonal community, so the year starts on July 1. So the numbers are always higher now, and this fiscal year will wrap up June 30th. So the number of tickets goes down in the wintertime. So through these months up until June 30th, there's not going to be as many tickets written. And then when we hit July 1, there'll be a lot of tickets written. So where we are is right. We're not in a dramatically different place versus where we were the year before that at this time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any board members? Amy?
Hi, Amy Eldridge. Through you, the chair. In the summer months, Sundays are really congested downtown during the church hours. And it's really difficult to find parking, get into your hour service, and get out without getting a ticket. And I've been very lucky. I got one this year, and your staff was amazing. I called in, asked what I could do, because it was my understanding through some of the church leaders that the church hours would kind of be off limit to ticketing. Is that something that will continue? And is there anything else that we can do to help in that matter, seeing as we're eliminating parking and in certain areas around churches? And I attend the Methodist church, which has no off-street parking, period, but you have the Unitarian, St. Paul's, St. Mary's, and the Methodist all within a 2-block radius, and it's crazy for parking.
Through you, Madam Chair. We do not have any sort of formal policy indicating that we don't enforce on Sundays or anything like that. That we don't have that. That being said, we do understand that Sunday morning some people are in church, right? So we have that kind of general understanding of where people might be, but there is no formal written anything. The laws are the same. The bylaws and parking rules are all the same on Sundays as they are any other day. I do know that it's a challenge that definitely we've heard from some community members. It's something that we've discussed in our traffic safety group. And when we talk about any changes to parking around churches, that's always a point of discussion and consideration.
Good evening, Chief. On your point on anticipated leadership transitions, housing is obviously such an issue for everybody, but also for your staffing needs. How are you kind of thinking about that for your anticipated leadership transitions? Have you seen it getting a little better, or is it still really tough? Or I'm just curious kind of how you're thinking about it, and what you're hearing.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think there's been a dramatic change in housing availability for new folks coming in. And since I've been told this, because I've been here for just over 2 years now. And for me, it's the housing office has been there for 2 years. I call them and say, hey, we need some housing. And they've been great to work with. But I've learned that that has not always been the case. They haven't had the same kind of everything that they have now to support that. So bringing people in, our young people coming in, usually have housing opportunities. It's often a group housing. It can be expensive, as everywhere on the island is. So there's still those challenges, but I haven't heard of anyone coming in that just housing has said, I just can't find any housing for you. So that is good, but it's that next step of housing. And I know the housing office is well aware of this, and we all talk about housing all the time. The next step housing, where after year 1, 2, 3, 4, you're ready to not live in group housing anymore, and you're ready to have a dog or something, be an adult and not live with your coworkers. And that is the housing that is missing right now. And that's the housing that I think most impacts our retention ability, where people are at that breaking point of, say, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're still living in different sorts of housing situations that may not be stable, that may not be the quality that they want, because they're living with a lot of people in communal spaces, and they might make a decision at that point. So I know that's on housing's radar. It's a huge challenge. So seeing improvements, but to me, that's the next challenge, is trying to figure out how we're going to get people that sort of housing.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Great presentation. Next up, we have the select board reports and comments. Malcolm, do you have an update in regard to the African Meeting House vandalism investigation?
Yes, as I reported last week, there were some issues about redacted and unredacted documents. Those have been sent to the investigator, and we're going through an analysis of making sure the documents that he's requested have actually been sent.
Thank you very much. Keep us informed. Any committee reports? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb
Aye. Oh,
or Brooke Moore?
It doesn't sound like me. Yes, let's go home.
Tom Dixon?
Aye.
Matt Fee?
Aye.
Don Hill, aye. That carries unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Early night.